Next segment would be the dialogue between Ajahn Brahm and Ajahn Brahmali. One more shake. So, Ajahn, unfortunately, you've now got only 45 minutes.
Okay.
And I think Ajahn Brahm is relieved. Ajahn, you cannot, you have to face the camera because I think it's quite intimidating when you look at Ajahn Brahmali.
I think that's the point. I think that was the whole point of it. I don't think that was no accident.
I think yesterday we had the, so for those of you who were not here yesterday, we had a panel discussion with the monks and nuns, and then the nun was talking, but Ajahn Brahm was sitting here and she couldn't talk, so he had to leave. So I can understand how Ajahn Brahmali is feeling.
Yeah, no,
so sorry to interrupt.
I'm okay. I know Ajahn Brahm too well to be intimidated by Ajahn Brahm. Anyway, so thank you very much, Lee. The first thing that occurred to me, Ajahn, was looking more fierce than usual. The first thing that occurred to me when you said, "Oh, can you do an interview with Ajahn Brahm?" was that now is my chance to get my own back on Ajahn Brahm.
In your dreams.
In my dreams, that's right. So I thought I will tease him a little bit. And I said to Ajahn Brahm, well, this is my chance, I said to Ajahn Brahm, to torture you a little bit. And Ajahn Brahm replied, you will not be able to torture me. And of course, he is right. I was wrong. So anyway, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to ask Ajahn Brahm a number of questions. I'm going to start with the earliest part of your life, Ajahn. And then I'm going to take it all the way to the end. Let's see what happens on the way. Are you going to promise not just to tell your ordinary stories, but say something special, something different this time? This is. Are you?
I cannot keep promises.
You cannot keep promises. Okay, but are you going to promise anyway? Or no. Okay, so here we go.
Okay, I'll try.
So starting with going back to your early years, Ajahn, I remember one of the stories that you very often tell. I have accumulated a number of questions here. This is accumulation from various peoples and everything. Going back to the very early years, you said you won a science award at your Latimer upper school when you were there. You were given a book voucher and you went to Foyles of London, I think.
Yes.
And you picked up some books there. But you went straight to the religion section. Why did you go to the religion section?
Well, first of all, its location. In Foyles Bookshop is a very big bookshop in Tottenham Court Road. And I did what my teacher told me to do, to go to the maths section first of all. And I picked up some of those maths books and they were so boring. It was my first school prize. I could get those books from library. So instead, the opposite side of the road and the annex of Foyles Bookshop, in the attic, the top story, that was where there were always like the kind of forbidden books, not just on different religions, but also books on psychology and philosophy, and anything which was weird was up there. So that kind of attracted me, the weird and forbidden stuff.
Why did that attract you? What was the reason?
I'm rebellious.
So, okay, but I mean, you can be rebellious in many ways, right? You were going to the religion section. What was the?
It was not just religion. It was like the Eastern religions.
Eastern religion, right?
Yeah. So, but one of the things I wanted to do, and this was true, I realized spirituality or religion, that sort of path was important. So I wanted to find out, what type of religion to follow. I did get a copy of the Quran, a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, a copy of, The Third Eye by Logtam Rampa. It was a good read, but a lot of rubbish. But then also just a book on Buddhism by Christmas Humphreys.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as if that sort of inspired me. It was just that kind of realized that's who I was. I was a Buddhist.
Yeah.
It never ever converted me. It would just say, my views and the way I looked to the world, it already had a name. And it's the first time I realized what that name was. It was Buddhism.
So you realized that spirituality was important. Why did you realize that?
I realized it was important because my interest was in science, in physics, how the world works. But just physical laws, that's not enough. There's something more important behind that. And I do remember just Dennis over there. Remember that time we had this invitation to go and have dinner with Sir Roger Penrose? Yeah. Here's what... Yeah, because they said Ajahn Brahm and partner. And I don't have any. And I know that Dennis was really into science. And Roger Penrose, I mean, he was one of the big stars of science. He was really way up there, with Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking wasn't that well known yet, but Roger Penrose was, and to have dinner with him. And the fascinating thing there, that he was a wallflower, Roger Penrose. You couldn't talk to him. And that's one of the reasons why I realized that being a monk was a much better choice of lifestyle. Not only do you understand deeper truths than Roger Penrose, but also it makes you easier to convey those truths to other people.
So was there any particular influence in your early life, like any people, anyone who kind of guided you towards spiritual ideals, or was it coming from yourself?
Coming from myself.
So if you come from yourself, did it come from a past life?
I had to.
Yeah? So what do you think happened in the past life?
What do I think?
Yeah.
You can't think about past lives.
If you were to make a guess, what do you think you were in the past life?
You cannot make guesses as monks.
Educated guess.
They never studied reincarnation at university, so it cannot be an educated guess.
Do you think you were a monk in the past life?
Do I think? I say we don't think as monks.
Or you maybe a nun? Could you have been a nun in the past life?
Could have been. I could have been anything.
Yeah. Really? Anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Next question.
Okay.
Okay. So
I think it's me torturing you now.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you took up the book Lobsang Ram, but that was just because it was crazy. Is that the reason why you picked it up?
Weird,
and you liked weird stuff,
yes,
so that was kind of okay. Good. Okay. So anything else in your background that how your background has affected your monastic life? For example, you always talk about coming from a working class family. You're living in Acton, and I guess the community there was quite nice community. Maybe, I don't know.
No, it's very poor. But I often say that one of the people I only found out last year who went to my primary school and my secondary school, that was Alan Rickman, Dr. Snape, in Harry Potter apparently. He was probably a really scary person, but he went to the same primary school as I did, so he came from a very poor family, and then he got also a scholarship to go to Latimer.
Mm-hmm.
He was about 4 years senior to me, but I must have seen him.
Did any of these people at that time, did they affect you in any way in terms of your decisions in life? Any of the people you grew up with, your friends, acquaintances, whatever?
Yeah. I remember one of the, never to be afraid, because as many of you heard me tell this story, that when I was in the last year at primary school, my father had the afternoon off work, and he came to see me at lunchtime and said he had his 2 tickets to go to a World Cup soccer qualifier match at Wembley Stadium that afternoon. It's such a shame that I had to go to school that afternoon. And I said, well, I can always ask my teacher. And my teacher was a disciplinarian in the school. It was really tough. And I had the nerve to say, well, I can go and ask him. Nothing wrong with asking. So I went up to the teacher and said, is it okay if I go to Wembley Stadium this afternoon for a World Cup qualifier match, England versus, please excuse me, Poland? I still remember it. And my teacher looked at me as if I had the nerve to ask something like that. And he said, well, I don't see why not. Off you go. He let me go. I think it was acknowledging the fact that I had the nerve and courage to ask. And the hardest thing was when I went down to see my father was waiting for me. I said, yeah, I've got permission to go. He said, have you really? Yeah. And so, of course, when I went to school the next day, all my friends were so jealous. How did you do that? Because they were studying maths or science or something, and I was just watching the football match with my teacher's permission. Okay. What I learned from that is that be courageous. You can only ask, and people respected that.
Okay, good. So I'm going to move on a bit right now to the monastic life, Ajahn. So in your 50 years as a monk, what has been the most fruitful and beneficial period now?
That's a good one. The whole lot.
The whole lot?
Yeah.
In different ways or in the same way? Yeah.
Different ways.
Okay, can you explain a bit about those different ways then?
In different ways. First of all, when you first started out as a monk, you're always trying to attain things and get things. But when you got that out of the way, then you realize the most important thing in the monastic life is to be able to share all that you've experienced with others. It's like you've found this wonderful mine shaft of wisdom and kindness and stillness and peace. And it's important to share that with as many people as you possibly can. That becomes kind of the meaning of your life. Imagine, you get some really nice meditations, some really good insights, some deep states of freedom. What would you want to do? You can't keep it to yourself. There is no self to keep it to. But then after a while, you just share it with as many other friends as you possibly can. And that does give me some of the greatest joy. When somebody comes along, usually after a meditation retreat, and they come and they have the time to tell you what they've been experiencing, and you realize it's valid, it's true. Another wonderful experienced meditator, wise Buddhist in the world. And that's the greatest gift you could ever give to me. The fact that you've also been following the path of the Buddha and experienced the great freedoms and peace and bliss which the Buddha described.
Thank you. Has monastic life given you any special insights into yourself?
No.
No.
Because there is no self to have insights into.
Yeah. Okay, but that's an insight, isn't it?
Is it?
I'm asking you, Ajahn.
There's these wonderful insights. Just like you see in traditional Buddhism, that's one of the strange things that it goes against my idea of being a rebel, or, to do things differently. To see how the Buddha taught, how the Buddha practiced and described. That's just so true and realistic. And sometimes people think all those things are they're burdened by all the cultural baggage of the past. And basically they're not. The core teachings of the Buddha, they are still as valid today, they work as well today, and they're so powerful today as they were years ago, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. And that's actually why we have bhikkhunis. Because the Buddha said that's so important for the growth of Buddhism in our world. Bhikkhunis and bhikkhus and lay people. That's why we have them. Because that's how the Buddha wanted us to practice. And that's why, of course, I have spent a lot of hard work, just fighting for and getting not just bhikkhu monasteries, but also bhikkhuni monasteries, and also retreat centers and lay centers, as we got here and many other places. And that's actually the meaning of my life.
Sadhu. Okay. Next one, Ajahn. What is for you the most unexpected part of monastic life?
Unexpected?
Yeah.
It's just to realize just when you expect things, you never get anything. Okay. And when you stop expecting things, everything gets so peaceful and blissful and beautiful. It's not a path of expectation. It's a path of inspectation.
Mm-hmm. And that was...
Going in.
Okay, and you discovered that as you transited from lay life to monastic life? Is that when you discovered this, or was it...
Well, I think many of you know those stories. The first time I just discovered the power of meditation, it was still as a layperson. And I'm trying to think, because you were questioning me about this, I think it was, someone was anyway, but about the last girlfriend which I had. And I remember just having a lovely time together, but I said, I'm going to go on a retreat for 9 days over in Cambridge. And so off I went on my retreat, had a really lovely meditation, and basically that was the end of that relationship. And sometimes I didn't realize at the time, but now you look back and when you have something like the the peace and the freedom of the Dhamma, you're not really sort of caught up in relationships anymore. And that was actually even before I became a monk. I mean, I didn't really have anybody to discuss it with or to really understand it. But later on you saw someone like an Ajahn Chah and you realise, okay, yes, this is the way.
Okay. Thank you. So next one is about you are become an extraordinarily famous monk. I think they say on the lists. They have the Dalai Lama, maybe Thich Nhat Hanh, and kind of Ajahn Brahm is kind of that is the sort of standard sequence you see sometimes these days. Has that ever affected the decisions that you have made? The fact that you have become famous and things.
No, to be honest with you, that sometimes I can't understand that. To be famous, why? I get more photos taken of me now that I'm fat and old, than when I was young and handsome. But I enjoy it sometimes. I enjoy it because sometimes there's advantages and disadvantages. And one of those advantages is that sometimes you go on an aircraft. I still remember going on this aircraft, I think Garuda, over to Singapore to give some talks, and you're only sitting in the back in economy class somewhere, and then this flight attendant, Indonesian, she stops and looks at me. Are you Ajahn Brahm? I said, I think so. And then she started gushing. She put her hand over her heart. Oh, I must be your most devoted disciple. I read all of your books and listen to all of your talks. Oh, thank you so much. And then, okay. But then I knew I was going to get extra special service on that flight. And of course I did. But then in the middle of the flight, once they had given the breakfast or whatever it was, then she came up to me again and said, would you mind coming up to the front, to the galley? This was in a commercial aircraft. So yeah, okay. So I went up to the front. I was a bit concerned. But they had the whole flight crew were there for a photo session. And that was just weird. So I was at the front, so okay. And it wasn't just one photo, this person, that person, the whole crew and the whole lot. But anyway, all these lights were going off in the front. It was a flight from Perth to Bali. And because Bali was the first stop, all these Aussies were in there and they were ringing. They needed another top up of their beer. The flight attendant said, no, we've got to finish the photo session first. And so as I walked back, after I had the photo session, all the people, they realized that I'd stopped them having an extra beer. And I got these really interesting comments and looks from all these Australians going on holiday, not being able to have enough beer because I took up all the flight attendants, not just one of them, the whole lot of them, for a photo op. I kind of enjoyed that.
Okay. So one of the reasons I asked this, Ajahn, is because back in 2009 when we did the Bhikkhuni ordination, and I always thought that once you have all these accolades and fame and all of these kind of things, then you will think about, should we do this or not? It will maybe lead to a decline in fame. It may lead to a problem with being Chao Kun in Thailand. Maybe they will kind of demote you on the hierarchy and all of these kind of things. And one of the things that I found, for me, was very inspiring was that those things never went into the calculation when we did that. It was just about what is right, basically. And that was kind of, and this is one of the reasons why I asked that. So would you want to comment on that?
Correct, yes. This was one of the times, again, I've mentioned many of these anecdotes. The time I really started getting well-known, famous, you might say, was when I went to Singapore and they'd arranged a series of talks in Suntec City Convention Centre. They got big halls at the top. And this one evening, it wasn't anybody else who was talking, just me just by myself. And in the hall there's about 3,000 people already sitting there waiting to listen to me. And it was a weekday. And I realized, in Singapore, you have to probably miss your dinner that evening, go straight from work, straight to this hall to listen to a talk. And I just contemplated, if I gave a very bad talk, then of course that would turn people off Dhamma. And I love the Dhamma. And the last thing I ever want to do is to diminish people's respect for meditation or Dhamma because of something I said. And the second thing, I thought, if I give a good talk, then I'm in danger of what they call gains, honor and fame. Because I see many other people getting proud and arrogant because of what they said. And so I thought, my goodness, how can I deal with this? And then he got a wonderful insight that all the time I've sat here and given talks or led meditation teachings anywhere in the world, I've never given a talk. I realize all the words which come out of my mouth are the conditioning, what I usually call brainwashing, from all the teachers I've known over the years, mostly from an Ajahn Chah, and every other teacher which I went to see who inspired me. All monastics, female as well as male. And all of those people I've listened to over those years, basically they're responsible. So I never actually connect Ajahn Brahm with anything I said. And that's one thing which I wanted to stress this somewhere today, is please remember you should never take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Ajahn Brahm. You only take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha. And the Sangha means monastics, male and female. That's where you take refuge in. So please, I know that some people say they're a follower of Thich Nhat Hanh or the Dalai Lama. You don't take refuge in the Dalai Lama. You don't take refuge in Thich Nhat Hanh. You don't take refuge in Ajahn Chah. You take refuge in the Sangha, as well as the Buddha and the Dhamma. Please remember that.
Okay, good, thanks. So, is there anything you would have liked to done differently in your monastic life, Ajahn?
No.
Okay, good. It's that's nice, isn't it? I think this is what Dennis was talking about, loving yourself. There's kind of nothing to regret, anything like that. You that's wonderful. Okay, so now I'm going to ask some slightly more specific questions about your monastic life. Did you ever experience hunger? And if you did, how did you deal with it?
Oh yeah, I experienced hunger, not eating for a few days. Yeah. But it's easy to deal with. You don't die from hunger. I just remember doing fasts. I remember it's lovely to do fasts, so like purging your body, and just meditating is fine. But one of the times I went on a fast, one of the villagers from BSWA village came to see me and he said, Ajahn Brahm, why aren't you eating my food? So I'm eating no one's food. I said this in Thai, or in Isan language, and he said, I'm doing this just to fast. He said, oh please, because they see the monk as a receptacle, so they can make good karma. It took me a long while to realize that. I wasn't a burden on them, I was a burden when I didn't eat their food. That's why, I don't know how many of them, she's not here, I think Mona's, she's going off to Thailand this afternoon. This morning, she brought this huge cake. I mean, a huge one. It was huge, wasn't it?
It was massive, yeah.
Massive, yeah. And she knows I like that cake. But then, that I never... It's being recorded, isn't it? I shouldn't have... Okay, she won't mind. I never ate any of it. I said, keep some for lunchtime. But, sometimes... why? Why I promised to eat some of that cake at lunchtime? It's simply because it's not that I want it or I need it. It's because she needs to give it to me. And if you are a Thai or a Sri Lankan, or even just many of you who are here, you realize that if you don't eat somebody's food, they get really disappointed. They made it specially for you.
So too much food is more of a problem than hunger, is that right? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good. Next one, Ajahn. What is the most painful experience in your monastic life?
That's a really good question. Got to think. Okay, yeah, I'll say this again. It's a story you've all heard before. There's just when you get very, very sick. And a few of those times, when I had scrub typhus, I was only like 24, 5 years of age or something. I forget how much now, but had so little energy, totally worn out. And it's mentioned in the book. That's where Ajahn Chah came to see me. It was a very painful experience. Used to have these injections every morning and afternoon in your backside with these really dull needles. The reason they was dull was because we reckon this was the time when they had recycled needles. They used to boil them to try and sterilize them. They used them in Bangkok first, and after using them in Bangkok, they'd send them up to the northeast. And after using them in the northeast, then they send them down to the monks because we were supposed to be tough. You needed to be tough. And so did the nurse who injected you. She was built like a wrestler. Stab in your backside twice a day. And your backside was so sore. You had no energy, otherwise I'd have run. But eventually, that's the most painful. And Ajahn Chah came, and it's in that book. It's wonderful. Whenever you have any painful experiences, you always have some wonderful things you can remember. He was the one who said, Ajahn Brahm, you'll either get better or you'll die. And he left. Great wisdom, but no bedside manner.
No. Okay. Did you ever have any doubts, Ajahn, about the monastic life or Buddhism or anything? Yeah.
No, that's a great question, because I can answer that without any fear at all. And the answer is weird, is no. For 50 years, not any doubt. There were 2 times when I really tested myself. One of my best friends as a monk used to sit next to him, and he decided he wanted to disrobe, and then so off he went. And afterwards I remember going back to my hut. I was still young, and I still had a really good degree from Cambridge. Basically there was no reason why I wouldn't be able to survive really well in the world. So I asked myself, do you want to leave? No. No, I just contemplated any reason why you should leave. No. I couldn't find any reason, honestly. And that's why often any other monks in the monastery, then or now, who want to disrobe, if you want to ask me, you won't get a positive response. And even also, I'm going to be honest here, Dennis remembers this, when Ajahn Jacaro disrobed. And then some of the people here, they were asking me, oh, Ajahn Jacaro disrobed, when are you going to disrobe, Ajahn Brahm? Because they lost a bit of faith in the monks. And imagine you have like a person who's been a monk a long time, and then they disrobe. What does it do to you? So I remember, you were looking at trying to find a replacement for Ajahn Jacaro for a while, and so I knew I was next in line. So I remember going to my hut, and for about 2 or 3 days, Ajahn Brahm, is there any chance at all, any chance that you will ever disrobe? And if I could see any crack there at all, if I could have seen that there was a chance that somehow or other I would disrobe, I would never have accepted being the abbot of Bodhinyana Monastery. Because I could see the danger in that, and the terrible thing as a leader disappointing the followers. I looked and looked and looked. I couldn't see any possibility, not any doubt at all. And I was looking for it, testing it out. Couldn't find anything. As a result of that, I said, okay.
Sadhu.
It was true.
Yeah,
I'm still here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so now, Ajahn, I'm going to move on about your relationships with other people.
Okay.
So the first thing I want to ask you is, what is that you appreciate the most in other people?
I think the honesty.
Honesty,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anything else?
That's probably honesty more than anything. Because when they're honest, they're true to themselves. They can be true to me.
Yeah.
In other words, what they say is what they mean. They don't try and just pretend to impress me.
Okay. So next one is about your relationship with teachers and things. Who is the most important to you, the Buddha or Ajahn Chah?
Well, I've got to be honest, Ajahn Chah. Because he was someone I was actually with, could actually see. Of course, not Ajahn Chah, the Buddha is something which was above everything. But important to actually, not just to have an idea, but to have experience with somebody. Of course, I'm not diminishing the importance of the Buddha, but you may have read about the Buddha, have ideas about the Buddha, but seeing someone actually practicing and living that life, that was really most important.
Yeah. So you had the main relation. You knew Ajahn Chah, so that's kind of why you had a relationship with him. So, how then would you describe your relationship with the Buddha?
It's something which is on a different sort of level. Somebody, at first, most of what he said and how he practiced was beyond me. Then over those years, your appreciation of the Buddha gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And some of the things which he said, you actually see are real. And that's sometimes weird. Being a theoretical physicist, you were always taught, conditioned, brainwashed, only to see stuff which is provable, which you can actually experience for yourself. And when those things start to happen in your practice, that really, really increases your admiration of a Buddha.
Do you have a sense that when you read the sutras, that the Buddha actually is your teacher? Do you get that feeling?
Yeah,
yeah?
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. When Ajahn Chah died, did you feel any sense of loss or anything like that?
No.
Why not?
Why not? Because by that time you'd already understood a lot about what the Dhamma is. And if you understand what the Dhamma means, you don't feel sad when even your teacher disappears. You don't feel sad when your own father disappears. I won't feel sad when Ajahn Brahmali disappears.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's probably your least of your worries.
This is just the nature of the world.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
See, I did torture you.
No, that's good. I can deal with it, Ajahn. It's all right. Yeah. Okay, so now I want to move on to about your relationship to your disciples rather than your teachers. So first question is, how do you train your monks and nuns?
One of the things about training is, this is from the Chinese art of war. It's a weird thing to quote when you're looking about training human beings to be peaceful. But that was the story of the general who had the best discipline in the whole imperial armies. And the emperor asked him, "What's your secret?" And he says, "I only ever tell my troops to do what they want to do. That's why they always follow my orders. And that's the only thing I do with the monks and the nuns. I only ever tell Ayachan to do what she wants to do." How can I do that? Brainwashing. Inspiration. To motivate people. When you motivate them and give them good reasons, why they should get up early in the morning, why they should let go, why they should meditate a lot, why they should keep precepts. Why? Because it's fun. It's joyful. It makes you really happy and peaceful, and your problems in life get less and less and less. So to train them, be a motivator. And please, whatever you do in your life, whatever role you have, as a BSWA ops manager, or as a secretary, or whatever role you have in your life, please make sure you know how to inspire others and motivate them. Then they'll always do the right thing. That's how I train people.
So if they, even though they should, in theory, always do the right thing, sometimes there are difficult disciples, perhaps. How do you deal with difficult disciples, and why?
Okay, with kindness, realizing they will change. This is where it may be a weakness of mine, but there are some disciples who've got trauma from the past, and they may have been told by professionals they've got all these problems from the past, even things like schizophrenia or ADHD or whatever else which they have. I always realize that the mind is much more powerful than anything else, much more powerful than the brain. And so you try and make sure you inspire them and see if they can break those boundaries and just do better than they're ever expected to do. And some of the disciples have done that, some haven't, but I give them a chance.
Is there ever a situation where you might tell someone off or correct them or something?
Sometimes I do, but then I can't really do it wholeheartedly. Have I ever told you off?
Very rare, yeah.
For what?
I can't even remember, to be honest. Yeah.
I told you I could ask questions.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. What are the qualities of a good disciple, Ajahn?
Got as patience.
Patience.
Yeah.
Okay.
In other words,
Yeah.
they have a bit of confidence, and eventually it all works out. And eventually these things which they think are just huge problems for them will eventually disappear and vanish. At the moment they may feel that, I can't handle this. Just stay there and it just gets less and less and less.
Mm-hmm. And what are the attributes of a good candidate for ordination?
That they're breathing.
The breathing. Okay. What kind of breath? Is it kind of the peaceful breath or the rough breath, or does it?
The one that know if it's a long breath, it's long. If it's short.
Okay. Any other kind of qualities? That's a fairly low bar, isn't it? To have to breathe.
Well, it's strange that all those years which I have been a teacher, being able to ordain monks and nuns, to this day I can never guarantee which of those monks, which of those nuns you ordain are going to be the stars in the future. And there have been a few people who thought, well, he's going to be a really good monk. She's going to be a great teacher in the future as a nun. But they're not. And there's others, I thought, I might as well ordain them, why not? And I thought, there's not much hope, but who knows. And they turn out wonderfully.
Was that me, Ajahn? What is the best way for a student to repay the teacher?
Oh, that's the neat one. To repay a teacher is always by inspiring others. They all pay it forward thing. This is what Ajahn Chah told me, that you say thank you to him, but then afterwards he said, no. You go off and you practice, you do well, and then when you teach other people, then that's how you've repaid me. To spread the Dhamma. Same with each one of you. Whatever you've heard from here, from any of the monastics here, or from anything, and the only way you can pay off your debts is actually by going to help somebody else. And sharing that Dhamma. And then it is true that, there's been a lot of people. Okay, this story, when I was just an attendant, a young monk, helping somebody else teach a retreat somewhere, and then this lady came in and said, "Thank you for saving my life." She said to the teacher, not to me. And it was real, sincere. And when I heard that compliment, I made a resolution that if ever, someone says that to me, Ajahn Brahm, thank you for saving my life, I realized that my monastic life had been really worthwhile. Just one person. And many people have said that. Because many people, imagine the job satisfaction of being a good monastic. And when they do say that, please accept it. Because they mean it. Don't think, oh, no, not me. You accept it. That encourages you to work even harder, to give that kindness, that instruction, that leadership. And then, how many people can you save in this life? That is always the best thank you anyone has ever given me. And now I want you to go and save somebody else's life, big time. So don't come here and thank me. Go out there and do the same thing to others.
Okay. Coming to the end of the questions, Ajahn, believe it or not, what lessons should we all learn from your life?
To live your own life, first of all. Please don't imitate me, because sometimes you see that everyone thinks, oh, this is how I should teach, this is how I should do things. And I rebelled. Be that, that unique human being in this world, and all the stuff which you've had in your life, all the difficulties you've had in your life, all the pain you've had in your life. Never reject that. Incorporate that into your life. I always say that is please excuse me, the shit from which you grow your wisdom. It turns into fertilizer and turns into this beautiful motivator and source of wisdom and understanding by which you can live a wonderful life. Doesn't matter how much you develop on the path. Remember, because of his many, many lives, that what you don't achieve or don't actually let go of in this life, you've always got another life to carry on. So be patient.
Yeah, so be rebellious, be patient. What else?
And tell bad jokes.
Tell bad jokes. Okay. Okay. Is that a sign of non-self, you telling bad jokes? What do you reckon? Yeah.
I don't know. The few seconds I say they're bad, I think they're not bad jokes. They're really of high value.
Why do you tell bad jokes? Actually, that's a good. I forgot that question. So now is the chance.
Why I don't tell bad jokes. I tell really refined jokes, but people aren't advanced enough to really understand and appreciate them.
Yeah. Someone suggested yesterday that the reason you do that is to make everyone feel at ease. Is that part of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is true. Like, I just look at the faces in the crowd. I've known you for so many years, most of you. It's wonderful, actually, for you to come here. Even if this might be an old joke. I mean, I saw, when you were mentioning one of those old jokes, I haven't told it for a while, the carrot joke. Remember, you all know the carrot joke, I hope. But nevertheless, I'm going to tell it again. Two carrots were walking down the street. One got hit by a car. The other one got on his mobile phone, called the ambulance. Ambulance came within a few minute or two, and they looked at the injured carrot. He was so badly injured, they put him in the back of the ambulance straight away, and the fellow carrot went with him to the hospital, went to Royal Perth, and straight away in Royal Perth, the triage nurses took one look at the injured carrot, straight into surgery. This was life and death. And so they put him into this surgery, and his friend, the carrot, was waiting in the waiting room. It's always a very tense place. I've been in that waiting room before. People don't know their loved one, they're going to survive, they're going to die, what's going to happen. And after 2 hours, the doctor came into the waiting room and said, he noticed the friend of the injured carrot straight away. Your friend, the injured carrot inside? Yeah, that's me. That's my friend. Don't know how he could know that. But then he said, I got some good news and bad news. The good news is your friend, the injured carrot, we got him into surgery soon enough, he's going to survive. He's going to live. Such a relief. The bad news is, I've told this joke so many times, I cannot tell it without laughing beforehand. The bad news is, because of his injuries, he's going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life. How many times have you heard that?
A lot.
And you still laugh. Me too.
We laugh because it's bad.
Because it's good.
That's a nice. I like that one actually. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the better ones I've done. Okay. Anyway. No, sorry.
You succeeded in your aim. You tortured me.
I succeeded. Okay, then we're coming to the very end now. So a couple of more questions. The second last one is, what is your advice for the BSWA for after you pass away?
No, you always stay in the present moment. Remember, your future is being made right now. So you just do the best you possibly can right now, and then wait till the future. Who knows what might happen?
Where should we build the Ajahn Brahm Museum?
In your heart.
Sadhu. That's a good answer. Okay, very last question, Ajahn, because time is just running out. What can we all do, monastics and lay people, to support you into the future?
Nothing. You always do too much. Now's the time for you to do less. Be more peaceful, more free. Sometimes you can say, oh, do this, do that, do this, do that. Always doing things to try and solve problems. How about doing less to solve problems?
Excellent. So that is, okay, we have only, it's 1 minute to 10, so it's perfect
Hang
timing.
on.
So let's do all the big triple Ajahn Brahm sadhu.
Okay.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, Lehar, over to you again.
Thank you, Ajahn Brahmali. Can we also give 3 big sadhus to Ajahn Brahmali for doing this wonderful session with Ajahn Brahm?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you. That was very insightful, wasn't it? Yes. Very nice. Maybe we should do this more often. But I'm not sure how many monks or nuns will have the courage of doing this. Okay.